Wednesday, everybody. My name is Vija Williams, and I am with Kinney Companies and Place, and it is noon Pacific time, and that means we are doing an agent training webinar. Today, I am so excited because this panel came about actually, it's John's fault. It's one of our guests is John Westfall-Kwong. And John is the culprit for how we are having this webinar. And this webinar is how to get to 2 million in gross commission income in about 5 years, because every single one of these guys in front of you did that. And the reason it's John's fault is that I was interviewing someone last week, Michael and Rachel Novak. And John got on chat and he said, you know, I went to 120 million in about that amount of time. And this has been a really great webinar. So John, how fast did it take me while I was talking live, mind you? I was messaging you on chat and I'm like, John, text me, here's my cell number. And I think within an hour I had you booked, or very, very close to that. I was like, when can you talk? And because I already knew who else I wanted on the panel. I knew I wanted Austin Keitner and I knew I wanted Jacqueline Smith because I knew that, you know, I've watched you guys do this too, right? And so I can't think of a better group than all three of you guys to kind of walk everybody through what this actually looks like. And I think that the reason I like this topic so much is because so often we see these big mega teams, you know, either on stage or on, you know, on camera like this is now. And I'm kind of obsessed with the concept of how it was built and like, what did it look like from ground zero up to now? Because it feels so unattainable sometimes to people when they see you guys at 2-3 million GCI, it just doesn't even sound relatable. But it is relatable. Like 5 years, are you kidding? That is no time at all. It's no time at all to build a massive business. Jacqueline, I don't know if you know this, but only 2% of women-owned businesses get to revenue of $1 million or higher.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're in the top 2%, you know, already. And then you talk about 2 and 3 million. I don't know the stats on that, but it's really amazing, right? And it is for you too, gentlemen, but I just thought that was an interesting fact. So who we have in front of us is Austin Keitner, the Keitner Group in Toronto. Thank you, Austin, for being here. We have John Westfall-Kwong from the Twain Line Towns, Twain Line Towns. And you go by SWK Real Estate, is that right, John?
Yep, Simon Westfall-Kwong Real Estate, or SWK for short.
Okay, there you go. Yes. And we say Train Line Towns, that's in New Jersey, so it's like Summit, Chatham, Short Hills, Millburn, just a bunch of small, little, beautiful, frankly, towns that are in that area. Is that right? Correct.
And in general, and the train's going to New York City. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, it's a suburb of New York City. Because I've been there many times and I've been on those trains many times, and those are people commuting in, I can tell you firsthand. Jacqueline Smith, Kinney team in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. And you and I have known each other for a while, probably you and Austin. Austin, you and I have been in master class together, so we've probably all kind of known each other for the same amount of time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So really quick, if you want to see something adorable, don't kill me, Jacqueline.
I knew you were going to.
If you want to see something adorable, go get on my Instagram and look at my story because it's still up. So I can't right now. We did a prep Zoom yesterday for this, and I was razzing everybody to get on video. So Jacqueline goes, okay. And she gets on video and her hair, she's getting her hair foiled and there's like foil everywhere. And it was the cutest thing. And also I literally couldn't even look at her because I was dying laughing the whole time. So I put with her permission. You gave me permission, just so no one thinks I'm an ogre. With her permission, I put the picture on my Instagram. My Instagram is maybe Robin can put it on chat, but it's VIAVIJA. So it's Vija. And it's a really cute picture of Jacqueline. So there's your little fun thing for the day. Okay. So I want to start at the beginning. No surprise. Anyone who watches my webinars knows I really like to start at the beginning. I would almost say that's kind of where I like to spend the most time, because I'm always intrigued with how things started and how they kind of got to that critical mass, right? And so let's start with you, John. What did you do before real estate, and what made you get into real estate? And then walk us into when you did get into real estate, like literally the year and time that that happened.
Oh, okay. I started off doing nonprofit and nonprofit management for like over 20 years. I read this book called Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow. And I pivoted in my 20s, switched over to nonprofit. It took some while, but really built a large career there. I've raised over 220 million for various nonprofit groups since my time there. So great career, loved every minute of it.
So it's no surprise
pivot,
you came from sales, you came from business development. Yes. And yeah.
Yeah, I ran a team of 30 people around the country on my most recent job. And there's a lot more crossover than people may think, because like you said, Vija, they're mostly sales. So we managed major gifts officers from around the country as well. So lots of kind of tie-in there, and just kind of running a national organization, that putting the systems in place to have everything go together like that. Yes.
Why real estate?
It was, my husband and our rainmaker, our team leader, Simon, started real estate in 2005. We moved to Maplewood, one of those train towns, had our two daughters. We adopted two daughters at birth. He switched from being in kind of an executive in the fashion industry to a realtor. And he was like he was our point parent. I think this is, and it ties in a lot with our team too. And maybe a number of the listeners here, there tends to be one point parent in charge of the kids. And then the secondary, I don't like to put those roles, but we have typical labels for those. And he took on point parent for those first 10, 12 years with the kids. And then 12 years into the job I was at, they switched CEOs. I reported to the CEO, and the typical kind of CEO shuffle. I was given a nice golden handshake to move on. And so that was August 2016. Had a nice severance, decided, hey, let me get my real estate license while I figure out what to do. So I went and got my real estate license. At the same time, Simon's like, hey, I want to see what we can do on the team, the next thing forward. And so I made the commitment to let him go all out in his career, while I made sure that our girls were growing, and there was a point parent for that. So that's kind of how it started for us.
What about you, Austin? Thank you, John.
Sure.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Vija. It's good to see you again. I always like to do this with you, because it's an excuse to connect with you again. So thank you. And it's an honor to be with these high producers. I never actually pictured myself getting here. I started off on a very, I like, there's alternate universes where Austin is not doing well, okay? Like, Austin was not on a great path, didn't have a lot of direction. I thought going to business school would help me grow a business. I was cleaning cars. It was basically just for like university money, and wasn't actually a real business. I was still like doing all the labor and stuff. Hadn't learned how to sell, so I wasn't effective door knocking and stuff. And it wasn't until I had to get another job for the winter, because here in Toronto, we're in Canada, so it's like cold as shit in the winter. You can't clean cars. So I had to find another job that winter, and I got into direct sales. And it was the best training I could have ever got. I got I got my butt whipped into shape when it came to like my mental toughness and the development of my sales skills. And then I brought that into real estate. I was making better money. It was a couple years of doing direct sales. I'm talking like 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year for 2 years of grinding that out. And it was the best thing I could have done for my career because I came into real estate and just started knocking on doors. And I did that in 2013 and got off to a fast start. But it turned out that my sales skills did not translate into business developing skills. And that is the journey that I was embarking on. I was learning how to build a real business with real systems. And but that's how I got started here.
So why real estate?
I wanted to, the sales manager who trained me, he made most of his money, it turned out, from investing in real estate. And I thought that was a good idea. Always had an interest in it. I talked to realtors in the past and we had talked about getting my license and working with them. I used to make cold calls out of a realtor's office. He was a mentor of mine. He was a client of my dad's who worked at a bank, and he taught me some stuff and let me work out of his office to make my calls and stuff. But I didn't have the $3,500 to get a license, and I didn't want to be attached to that particular area. It's where I went to school. But I wanted to invest in, I realized as I was making money in sales that I wanted to invest in real estate, but I didn't know enough about real estate to make good decisions. And I figured if I could make good money selling what I was selling, I could probably make more money selling houses and at the same time learn about it and how to invest in them.
Yeah, that's illogical. I get that. I could see that. Jacqueline, what about you? Welcome.
Hi. So I'm actually from Canada originally, and my background, I had worked with nonprofit and government up there, and then I moved down to the US. I married my husband. He was in construction, the market crashed, and there was no construction. So we kind of pivoted at that time and started a property preservation company, which then led to, relationships with realtors here that were doing a lot of the REO and foreclosure work. So we grew that company by accident. And then my husband had been, encouraging me to get into the business. I didn't ever see myself as a realtor. So I, looked into it. I read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And so I did appreciate the business aspect of real estate. And I did get into the business with that intention to build a business out of it. And got in late 2014. And so 2015 was my first full year and I fell in love with it. I wasn't sure if I was going, it was kind of like John said, like while I was figuring out what we were going to do type thing. And I loved it. It was much more intimate than I thought. I thought it was kind of like this superficial thing where, I just get my nails done and my hair did and drive around showing houses.
Kind of do.
But it was so much more like relational and I just fell in love. And so here I am.
So Jacqueline, what was your first target? You started in real estate. Like what goal did you set for yourself your first year?
My first year, I was really adamant that I wanted consistency in my business. The idea of being commission, it freaked me out. I was a control freak a little bit. And so I wanted to have 4 closings per month, 48 transactions for the year. That was my target. And then my plan from there would be that I would make my first hire, my administrative assistant at that time. So I built a business plan and then I executed that plan and I did end up hitting that target. I exceeded it by a few. I sold 52 homes and then started my hiring process at the end of 2015 looking for my assistant.
I mean, that's an incredible rookie year. Why do you think you walked into it with such cogent goals and clear, and a business plan and everything? Had you read anything, gone to a class, talked to anybody? That's pretty advanced coming in.
So I mean, I didn't know any better, to be honest. So part of it was a little bit of ignorance. I didn't know that that was a crazy goal to have. And I remember talking to our team leader at the time, and I said, you know, what do you think is the maximum number of transactions someone could do without an assistant, without help? And I don't mean a new person. I mean any agent, like a great agent. And he said, probably, you know, hit a ceiling around 4. I don't know if he would have said 5 or 6 if I would have hit that, honestly, because I was just like, okay, that's my goal, you know, because I like to do the maximum. I don't like to do the minimum, and I've never liked to do the minimum. So that's honestly where the goal came from. And so part of it was I had no idea. They probably thought I was crazy. Like, this girl thinks she's going to sell 50 houses. Like, we'll see. And then, you know, then I went to, you know, family reunion. I remember in Louisiana that 2016 February, and seeing people on stage doing, like you were talking about, 2-3 million. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, I'm just this little fish, like 52, who am I? Right. And so then that expanded my thinking from there, and I got to see what was possible.
That's really cool. John, when you walked into real estate, you know, now, you know, you're in the mindset that you're going to transition in. What was your goal kind of walking in that first year?
Our team goal was 500,000.
Could you turn your sound up a little bit, John? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. How's the echo? Because I got some feedback that I had an echo.
The echo's fine. I think
Okay.
it's just volume now.
Yeah, I switched to this. Is this
that's
better?
great. Yeah,
Okay.
That's great.
Cool. Sorry about that. Sorry for the echo earlier, everyone. So yeah, in 2017, my first full year, like after about 2 months in real estate, our goal was 500,000 in GCI for the team. I let you know, because I think again, we can talk about it later if you want. I hedged my bets. So I took on a consulting job that first year in 2017. I earned $180,000 from a nonprofit consulting job, and we were shy on our goal. We only did 410 in that year in GCI. So like, we hit our family financial goal,
Right.
but at the detriment a little bit to our overall team goal there.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Where did that goal come from? Was it just that, you know, you guys had a discussion that, hey, if I'm going to leave this, our family needs to bring in X?
Yeah, I think it was like our making sure we kind of made enough money. And as we go on, like, spoiler alert, like, we're making a lot more money than our family ever made in the other dynamic. But with that said, yeah, that was like, okay,
just that first year.
let's cover it. Yeah.
What about you, Austin? I think your background's interesting. You kind of came in from direct sales and you saw what was happening around you. What was your goal first year?
Yeah, I had overcome some challenges and realized I could do a lot more than I thought. It was actually the growth mindset that was the trajectory for everything, and that was the foundation for like being able to actually learn how to build a business and the systems and the leadership and things like that. And it's still a work in progress, like lots of room to grow. But my goal was 500,000, and I was shy of that. I hit 350. It was a lot harder than I thought. I came in with a bit of an ego, probably, an attitude. It served me well in some ways, but also held back in others. And I mean, the next year we ended up doubling that, and I think we'll get into some of the ups and downs along the way.
Well, let's do that right now. Let's start with you. You know, why don't you walk us through, just like we did yesterday, you know, the 5-year stair steps, right? What that looked like every year.
Yeah, I mean, it almost doubled the next year. Like, I got to 650. I had introduced some leverage and had some people assisting with some things, so it freed me up to.
So year 1, 350. Year 2, you added, when we say leverage, you added admin and or agents.
Yeah, actually, really early on, because I just went door knocking, like I said, did 0 deals in my first 3 months. In my 4th month, I did 10 transactions. It was for like 135,000 gross commission. It was more. Yeah, it was more money than I'd ever made in a month by a lot. And I invested some of that in support, and I hired a virtual assistant at first, but I didn't know how to communicate with them. So I mostly didn't. It was like we were using Skype at the time. It sucked. It was just so painful to do it. And anyway, relied on email, but I didn't really know what they should do anyway. And then I hired somebody that didn't work out. So I hired somebody local because I thought that they could be in the office. I still didn't know what they should do. So it was a lot of like that learning curve in the first year. So I ended up hiring somebody. It was still within my first year, and they stuck with me for about 3 years. But it helped me get to the next level. I hired inside sales agent, which also spread us thin because we were calling all over the Greater Toronto area. So we weren't concentrated in any one location. So it kept us stagnant for a few years. Like I got to 650 and I thought my growth would just continue to double every year, but it didn't magically happen like that. But after 2 or 3 years of stagnant production, we stayed at 650 for like 3 years. And the market was going up, by the way, in prices and number of transactions. So our business was actually technically getting worse. But then we realized a lot of our sales were still coming from the location, the geographic area in Toronto that I had originally started door knocking and farming, so to speak. Although I didn't have a real system around it at the time, but we started developing a system. So we started just honing in. So we didn't have to decide where to door knock anymore. We didn't have to decide if we should door knock that open house at this end of town, or if we should door knock the sale we just had at this end of town. Like we removed all those decisions that you had to make, which ultimately can get in the way of actual production anyway. Where we would give, it was hard to we wanted to give back and give to organizations, but we couldn't decide where. So this helped with that decision-making process and got us into community events and things like that. So our business actually started increasing from there. We got to the over $1 million mark after a year or so of implementing that strategy, and made some more hires along the way. We tried onboarding agents, and we didn't have the right systems for that. So that became a new problem. But I was always looking for new problems. I guess for those 2 or 3 years, we were kind of dealing with some of the same problems, but we ended up finding new problems, and I realized that was part of the secret to growth. We now seek that, and we're excited about new problems now. But at the time, it was hard and frustrating, and didn't know where to go for answers all the time. But thankfully, from training events and working with Ben and you guys, and we were able to get way better direction.
Well, I think this is interesting. Let's actually go there. So ish, we're doing ishes right now. 350 first year, 650 second year, 650 third year, 650 fourth year. And then did you partner with Place then?
No, we had to get over $1 million to qualify.
Okay. So then after the 650 year, then did you hit $1 million year 5?
Yeah, it was about then, yeah.
About year 5.
Years to get to over $1 million.
And that's when you partnered with Place.
Yeah.
And you partnered with Place, and then what happened year 6? Yeah,
we doubled. We got to, or almost double. We got to over 2 million in that year. And that was last year.
5 to 6 years to get to $1 million, and then 1 year to get to 2 million.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Around the systems that we integrated into our business from that. It took some time to do that. So it started with our profitability increasing before our revenue increased, but then we got the benefit of both. And the systems around lead generation improved dramatically. Hiring agents or hiring staff was much more effective. So we actually got good talent through the coaching and stuff with the human resources, Ben included. So yeah, it happened a lot faster. The hardest work was getting to that $1 million, and then integrating those systems took a bit of time, but it made it a lot easier. And then this year we're on pace to do well over 3 million and it's our second full year of
and so you hit 2 million at about year, was it 6 to 7? Did I get that right? And then 3 million is year what ish?
Yeah, 7 or 8. I'm in my 8th year.
Yeah.
Now, so
okay. So wow. That's interesting. John, let's walk through yours similarly, right? Let's just kind of do the progression. Thank you, Austin.
Yeah, so 2017, our first year, we did about 400,000 team GCI. And that's also the year we hired our client concierge. So we didn't actually hire admin. Maybe it's the Virgo in me, I don't know, but I really wanted to make sure that I understood the systems before like we hired an admin. And I wanted to make sure I knew because my role is highly operational. I wanted to make sure I understood it before we hired anybody else. And I actually think it's highly helpful for us because Lizzie's still with us. She's an agent. She works part-time. She doesn't want the stress of like the deal and the transaction and all of that. And so we had more of a focus on that side of support as we kind of grew. 2018, our second year, we over doubled. So we did 940 in GCI. My big goal that year was figuring out, like Simon had an incredible year and our team wasn't doing so well. And my big goal for the next year, and what always remains my top goal, is our team doing well. And I'm always measuring how I'm performing based on our team growing and doing better. So I'm much more hyper focused on our team's GCI, like our team members GCI, not the full team, but like our team member. And quite frankly, your full team grows when your team members grow. So 2019, we had really great team member growth, which was good because Simon's year was more flat for his GCI. So overall, we saw growth, but much less than normal. So we only made it up to 1.1. But the 1.1 was in a different way, and it was at high cost to the organization. It's also the year we merged on with another team. A well-known agent in our town was looking to move on to the next steps of her career, had a great team. We merged the teams and took on the leadership roles of that team. So it was also just doing all of those infrastructure mergers. It was a costly year, but we continued to grow. Our volume went from 39 to 52 million, but our net went down on a number of ways. But again, like sometimes you've got to take those risks because the next year we doubled our 1.1 to the team doing 2.3. But 2019, we were doing a lot because we also took on an expansion team member in a relatively local, but an expansion team member, great, lots of grit, had all the talent, but needed the systems. So we took on that expansion team member as well. And she went from 25,000 to over 100,000 in her GCI on the expansion team. And then our overall 2020 GCI was 2.3 million.
And that was last, yeah. And then what are you on track for? What are you on track
We're on track for over 3 million. Our volume's higher. Our GCI is about 2.5 right now. So we're already ahead and it's August. So we're on track for over 3. It's just how much over 3? Our goal is 3.4. So we should land around 3.4.
Let me make sure I have this right. About 410 to 940 to 1165, and then 2.3 year 4.
Yeah.
And then potentially 3 million year 5.
Yeah, we're on track for 3 million.
So 4 years to get to $1 million, and then 1 year to double that to get to 2 million. I do my math right?
Yeah, or maybe 3 years. Just I don't know if we count 2016, but for Simon, yeah. So yeah. So 2016, I started October.
I'm saying it this way because I'm hoping our listeners and our viewers are hearing a pattern. So Jacqueline, so like if there was a quiz at the end of this, now listen to Jacqueline and listen for the pattern. So Jacqueline, let's walk through yours.
So year 1, So I started with units. So year one, I did 52. And then year two was 87. Year three was 137. That's when I broke $1 million. Year four, just over 200. It was like 218 or 217. And then 247 to 67. So
you hit 2.1 million. Okay, so to just talk in GCI, year one, what was your GCI?
Gosh, I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it was
350.
Yeah, it was around 350.
I actually know.
Oh, okay. It was like 350 and then 600 something and then $1 million and then 2 million, right around the same 2 million and then 2.7 last year.
That one time when you know your panelist numbers more than they do. Okay, no, I'm kidding. Okay, so here's what I want to just hear again. So let's call it 350 to 650, year two, whatever that number was. I don't really know your year two actually. Year three, about $1 million. Year four, 2.1 million. Year five, down to 2 million. Year six, 2.7 million.
Yep.
So it took you 1, 2, 3 years to hit $1 million, and then you hit 2 million on the fourth year. Okay, so what is the pattern everyone's hearing? Anywhere from 3 to 6 years, depending, to hit the first $1 million, and then every single one of you doubled that the year after to get to 2 million. And then you're all on your way to 3 million within a year or two of that. So the lesson here is obviously, patience and grind and dedication and a commitment to following the models and the processes and the systems, right, to get to that first $1 million. And you guys, I think most people quit before then. I think we all see them do that. I just wanted to pause on that a minute and let that sink in with everybody. I think that pattern is fascinating. Speaking of patterns, you all have another pattern, and that is every one of you had a flat year or two, right? Austin, you win the prize. And I relate to that, by the way, my friend. That is, I've been there too, right? You were chugging along at 3 years. So I kind of want to talk about that, like your stuck point, right? And you did touch on it, but let's deep dive on it a little bit. What really happened there, and what do you think really happened there?
A combination of things, but mostly in the absence of real value. Because like I said, the sales skills don't translate into business skills. So if you're not able to provide enough value for the people that you're bringing into your organization, because we all want to replicate our success. Like we want to teach other people how to do what we're doing. That's why I wanted to start a team. The financial rewards are obvious, and I have ambitions and stuff like that. But I knew that I had to get pulled out of the gutters, out of poverty. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was on the poverty line. Like I wasn't making any money. I was just out of school, so that's the excuse. But like I was also in school for way longer than I should have been. So it was something I needed. I needed the training development, so I wanted to provide that for others. That was my why. But I didn't have the value to actually do that. I didn't have the systems for that. So in the absence of that, you spend a bunch of money on people that you shouldn't. You give them leads and people that you're working with that you shouldn't. It costs you a lot of money. So part of it is I probably didn't enjoy what I was doing.
You mentioned this point in time. Thank you for sharing. And I that's awesome. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned this point in time where you're like, look, we're scattered, and what we really want to do is really refocus geographically and get niched and be smart. Did anything prompt that, or was it just was it just simply giving yourself the time to pause and reflect? Was it an outside influence? What caused that?
Yeah, thanks for asking, because I haven't actually talked about it or thought about that in a long time, but there was a lot of things at the time that were all pointing us in that direction. Some of it was like a panel that we had at our market center. One of the benefits of Keller Williams is they're always focusing on that training and bringing top people into that. And a lot of the panelists were having a lot of success farming, and they were talking about some of their strategies. I spent $10,000 Canadian, because there's like a conversion rate and all this stuff that's not favorable. But it cost me like $10,000 to come to Austin, Texas, immerse myself in the one thing training. I became certified in the one thing. And the message of go to get really big, you need to go small. So we looked at some of the numbers, like in some of these communities that we were still getting most of our business from, or at least half, was in this concentrated area. And we looked at some of the numbers, like how many households there were and how many sales. So we were looking at the turnover rates. And for one of the communities had like 4,000 households, there was about 200 sales, 5% turnover. We knew that if we talked to 20 people a day, one of those people was going to be selling in the next 12 months, and we could build a pretty big database just in that community. And even if we just sold 20% of those homes, which would be good market share, but if we were really concentrated and focused and our signs were all over the place, we were doing internet marketing there, we were knocking on their doors and then marketing to those people who we identified as leads. If we did a bunch of these things all at the same time, 20% was very realistic. And I was listening to more and more stuff and trying to learn more about how we could actually do that. And then we decided, just from all, I don't know, this accumulation of knowledge and practice and looking at what was going on and the numbers, that it was the only thing that made sense. So we did that and we didn't really look back. Now, not all the agents on our team focus on that. They don't all niche. We encourage them, but we've also got lead generation systems that agents who don't want to farm can tap into. And that's thanks to our partnership with Place. But any agent on our team that does embrace that concept, we have really good systems around farming an area, and they get to benefit from that. One of our agents is going to net $500,000 this year.
Wow,
my brother
net.
that joined us, but he farmed that community better than anyone I've ever seen, and he only does it within that community of like 4,000 households, and just does a crazy amount of business from that.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that you focus on that area, but you take anything that comes. It's just more about where you put your time and resources and money. Is that accurate?
Correct. Like our sales map is still spread out, and we have buyers, agents, and showing agents that are willing to drive, further outside that area. But in terms of farming and looking for listings and where we're going to spend marketing dollars on flyers and internet ads and stuff like that, it would definitely be concentrated in those areas still. And we expand them because there's some natural expansion that happens because, Toronto's a pretty dense city in population. So like a community over will also have 4,000 or 5,000 and it's just down the street. So
if I could just take a really quick teaching moment to our viewers and listeners. I teach this all the time. I call it the concentric circle method, but it's where you take all your lead gen sources like door knocking, direct mail, cold calling, open houses, anything you're doing, circle prospecting, expireds, canceled, FSBOs, and you keep them in a concentrated area. So you're applying all the different methods in one area, and you get so much more bang for your buck. It's such a big multiplier when you do it that way, right? And so I just want to kudos. You're not only proof of concept. You are the proof of concept. I mean, the huge, stunning leaps and bounds. I mean, basically from 650 to 2 million, 24 months after you adopted that, something like that. So that's really, really crazy growth from that, Austin. It's awesome.
Yeah, I hope that people heard the fact that I was willing to invest money, follow the right leaders. I spent $25,000 on that masterclass that you and I were part of because I wanted to learn more from Ben directly, and I hadn't partnered with him yet. And I knew I could get closer. He's doing the things that I want to do. I want to expand the business. I want to partner with more people. I want to groom more people and help them achieve their goals and things like that. And I didn't know of anyone better in the industry to do that. So I was willing to invest the money and the time and the energy to do that.
Yeah, Austin's talking about a masterclass that Ben Kinney did with a small group of us. So Jacqueline, what about you? Let's talk about the flat years. What happened?
Honestly, I grew so fast. I mean, I think that it was just a case of my leadership and my discernment and my systems, all maturing to kind of catch up with the business. So, I mean, without going in, there's obviously specifics about, hires and things like that. But I think when I look at it from higher level, that sums it up. I think that when you look at, the leadership, I had never ran a company with over 2 million in revenue. I had never led a team of that size. And I think, humbly, I had some things to learn, and that was my year. I really focused on personal growth. So I actually took a break from business coaching in 2019 and hired a coach on a personal level. And I worked with them for over just about 18 months. And I mean, just a lot of healing, a lot of personal growth that really helped with my confidence and my leadership and my empathy, all of that fun stuff, right? Fun work.
I love so much that you said that. Mark Willis, I quote him all the time, says that business growth is autobiographical. Yeah, I love that so much. And I was guilty, as I've been there before too, Jacqueline, where the growth was a little bit faster than my growth. So that's really awesome. It's an awesome answer. It's not tactical, it's not about, whatever. And the tactical stuff probably flows from that. You're right, from a high level. That's great. Love that. John, what about you? Tell us about the flat years, the desert.
Desert.
I'm
Really,
kidding. It's not really a desert.
Yeah, I know, really, but in a way, it feels like that in many ways when you're in the middle of it. So 2018 to 2019 was our flat year. So we grew from 39 million to 52 million in volume, and we were doing some great things. But it really was, I feel like, a year for putting together our systems. 2019 in our market area was not particularly great either. Our average home price in our core market, and just speaking to what Austin said, that's been a huge contributor to our rocket growth too, is about 4,000 homes of where we primarily target. But with that said, 2019, it was a rough year on those homes. And we kept on plugging along, but home sales were tougher, days on the market were longer, prices were going down. So there was like a lot of critical mass growing on at the same time where we were growing. We sold more homes, we focused more on lower dollar homes so that we didn't have all of our eggs in one basket, which again helped us later. But so like a lot of it was just putting all of the chess pieces together, I think. I think Austin or Jacqueline, or you both said it, like putting in the money too. So we did really great above expectations in 2018, and we put extra funds into 2019 to kind of be prepared for that next step in growth. So
you kind of hired and spent ahead of the growth, like in preparation for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and some of it was actually our director of operations didn't start full time until literally 2021, like, which is our first full-time salaried employee. But we started taking on more part-time roles to fill in gaps. So yeah, we were definitely hiring and spending more money in hiring, lead gen. Like I said, the team went from 100,000. The team members went from 100,000 GCI in total to over 400,000. So we were putting into place things that were super important, but for our net wasn't as good.
Yeah. Interesting. Jacqueline or Austin, did you guys have a dip in your net as well on that second year?
I had a dip the year in 2017. That's when I really transitioned from like being the big producer of the team to being the leader of the team. So partway through 2017 to 2018, I was growing the team, and I had to step back from production in order to do that. And I definitely took a step back to go forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same with you, Austin?
I actually still am in production, and my production's never been higher just because I'm trying to lead by example. I want to show agents what's possible. So I feel like if I can apply the models that work for so many of us place teams across the nation and stuff, if I could apply those at a high level and my agents could see that and see how it's working. I just taught a class, I did a webinar on the showing agent model. So I've got like 3 agents on our team that help with our buyer showing. So I'm able to do a lot of volume, but still have a lot of time I can spend 50% of my time on building the business and the other half on my clients and the sales and stuff. So I actually still haven't left that role, although I probably should soon because it's probably slowing me down from building it as big as we can, but I don't feel like but yeah, I definitely, I was making less than 50% on my deals for so many years because of the fact that I was giving these deals to agents, because of the fact that I had 3 salaries. In 2017, there was a serious shift in our market because in our province, they put forth some legislation, like a foreign buyer's tax and like a vacant property tax. And they did a bunch of things to cool the market intentionally because it was getting insane. And it went from 9 to 10 sales a month down to 0 to 2. And the whole team left, or we had to get rid of our staff, and we had the wrong people in the wrong roles anyway. And it was literally the Keitner group because it was me, my brother, and my wife. And me and my brother got back to the ground, started knocking doors, doing what we did best, cut so many expenses, and ended up hiring a virtual assistant. I had a bit more practice and better some systems in place. So was able to be effective. She's still with us now. Her name's Shai. She's amazing. She still helps our business a lot. And that was the defining moment of, okay, like, that's actually when I was like, okay, Ben, I want to partner with you. What is it going to take? They're like, you need to have 5 agents on the team. So I went from, I don't think I'm capable of doing this because I just had everyone leave. It's devastating when this stuff happens. Like, it makes you feel like a failure and that maybe you're not cut out for it. Even at one point, my wife was doubting too. She's like, maybe we're not cut out to have a big team. And I honestly didn't like the mindset. I knew enough to know that wasn't going to get us anywhere. But a part of me agreed.
Yeah. Cut your losses, those are the conversations you have with yourself.
The conversation I had with Jacqueline after that, she was like, yeah, you just need to have 5 agents. And then all of a sudden, my mindset went from it's hard to hire agents to, oh, I just need 5 agents. Then we started making that happen, and we were doing the things that worked better, and we were hyper. That was the first year. It happened to be like 3 months before that Fair Housing Act, that shift in our market. That's when we actually first started implementing that new hyper local strategy, and their sales had never been higher. That second half of the year was our to-date best 6 months.
Wow, that's fantastic. So your lead pillars are door knocking. I'm hearing you talk about door knocking a lot. So it sounds like they're door knocking. What else?
Yeah, I mean, now we have great systems around getting our sphere and gear. So new agents, that's the first thing that they do. They start working their sphere, and we give them the scripts and the things that they can bring their sphere towards, like events, or if we're doing a giveaway at the time, or we're raising money for a local charity right now. And we've got a movie night event that we're doing in partnership with the community center at the end of this month. So whatever the thing is that we're doing, they don't have to just call and ask if they want to buy or sell real estate. They can actually offer them something or bring them towards something, and then have a conversation about real estate if it's appropriate. We also do internet leads. We hadn't started doing those until a couple of years ago, and we get quite a few deals from that. Open houses we hadn't been allowed to do for most of COVID. We're allowed to do them again. So I mean, that's obviously a great lead source. And then our listings provide a lot of leads. So we just work the model and the system, and we have systems around those different lead sources with the help of Brevity, doing auto text and automatically sending people the information that they're looking for, and allowing us to see who's looking at this stuff and who's looking at it the most and who's looking at it the most recently, so that we can prioritize our calls with the most motivated people at any given moment. So the tools and the technology, the systems allow us. Like, I personally couldn't get past 350,000 my own personal production, but last year I was able to do $1 million in my own personal production. This year I've already done more than that. And that's just from a system of these leads getting nurtured at a high level without me having to call the right person at the exact right time.
will you come back? I'm going to do, coming up soon, we're going to do a whole countdown to business planning series, and we're going to have a webinar on each of the different lead pillars. Will you come back and join someone and do a door knocking one for us?
I'd love to do that. I put together a course on it, so maybe we could.
Well, there you go. Let's do a quick little role play and give everyone a treat, though, because everyone loves role plays. So if I live in your target area and you're door knocking right now, we're filming this in August of 2021. Hi, I'm opening my door to you.
Oh, hey, you must be the homeowner.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Coming by quickly. You probably noticed there's no homes for sale in your area. And it turns out there's a lot of people who do want to live here. Obviously, it's a great area. Just wondering if you guys have thought about selling, or if you were able to get the right price, if you'd want to consider it.
I mean, I don't know. Like, we have talked about it. Like, how much do you think we could get?
I can definitely let you know. Like, if you did move, where do you think you would go?
Yeah, we'd move in a little bit closer downtown, I think, into a smaller place.
Okay, nice. And so we'll assume we're not downtown now. What makes you want to go downtown?
Yeah, all my reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, so I would just go through LP Mom at that point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people don't get too excited about the selling process. It's actually paying their ass, but they do get excited about their future, their future, or what that would do for them. So even if they're not looking to do something now, oftentimes we'll get a no or a yes or somewhere in between. It's usually somewhere in between. So if you're in between, I just use the future tense. Okay, well, when you do move, where do you think you'll go? And then if they've had any inclination or any thoughts whatsoever, that's when they're usually telling me, because they don't usually double down. Ben taught us this. People don't usually double down on a lie. So the no at first is just their sales guard, just their instinct, no at the door. But then if I ask another question, they don't usually say no again, unless they're like, I actually have no idea. I don't want to move. I love my house. And then in that case, we just talk about something else. I set them up on a mark report, or I let them know that I'll send them the sales data just so they can keep their finger on the pulse. And then I just ask them what the best email address is for them to send that to.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. Jacqueline and John, I would love to hear your guys' lead pillars, your primary, maybe your top 3 or 4.
Go for it, Jacqueline.
Okay.
Jacqueline.
Yeah, so I mean, I can say that I did really build my business with prospecting. So I did a lot of for sale by owners, expireds, open houses, working my sphere of influence. And then, so at the time when I was building, I didn't do any internet leads or paid leads. It was all prospecting. Now, of course, we've added, paid leads. And so we do a lot of internet leads and Facebook leads, and still, again, open houses, agent referrals, and still the prospecting.
Yep. Got it. What about you guys, John?
Yeah, I mean, we started off a lot in Sphere and open houses, and now I would say clients and client referrals are the major source, and then we do other things as well, like everyone else. Internet leads is up there, but really just definitely a different level from Sphere. Clients in client referrals, and open houses do well for us too.
I'm curious, do you pay for leads now, John?
Yes.
Okay. So one commonality I'm hearing, Jacqueline actually pointed it out. Well, two. One of them is all of you guys partnered at one point. John, you kind of partnered and merged with another team, and then Jacqueline and Austin, you guys partnered with Place, right? I think that is an interesting commonality, Jacqueline. You're right. The second one is all of you guys built your business on prospecting activities, and then you added paid activities. So the first domino was all your grit, your sweat equity in there. And again, I am talking to the agents watching and listening to us, right? You don't have to write a check to start a real estate business. That doesn't mean that these guys are hypocritical by saying that, though. It just means that they had, built a foundation, and as they mastered each lead source, as their worlds grew and their teams grew, then they just added them, right? And now it's built into their budget, and they're operating on profit margins that are closely guarded, and marketing and lead expenses that work in their formulas. Is that fair, everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's thanks everyone else for bringing it up, and for you to kind of narrow it down, because it reminds me that, and I have to remember to tell all of our new team members that too. If you can't sell to those key people, particularly your sphere, and a little bit to open house, but really more like sphere, it's really hard to be able to convert a lead. And I think our team members who convert leads the best already know it, and they're comfortable saying that real life to their friends. And I think a lot of people's barriers, at least for our team, and I've heard it elsewhere, is like, oh, give me a bunch of leads, but I don't want to talk to my friends. And when you can't find a meaningful way to talk to your friends, it's really tough to sell it to people you don't know either.
I love that so much, John. I am so glad you said that. Thank you. Yeah, really, really, really great. Really true too. Jacqueline, I do want to go back. Someone had a question, and I'm also curious. And you can go as far as you're comfortable going, but can you tell us a little bit about what your personal coach did for you during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you are doing anything, growth-wise and getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself, right, beyond limits, like I didn't think it was possible, like I shared in the beginning, that I would be, doing 2 million, 3 million. And I mean, it will test you, right? I mean, even that first year, I had so many things like insecurities and limiting beliefs and patterns that, showed up for me. And when you are leading others, I mean, it's going to show up. I think you can only heal so far, like as a solo person, like as a single person, even, there's a whole nother level that occurs when you're in a committed relationship, in a marriage. And the same thing in business. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. You don't see blind spots. And when you start to do business around people, right, that are in your world, you get to know people on an intimate level, and those things surface. And you can't ignore the blind spot. If you have good people around you, you can't ignore those blind spots, because they're going to point them out, and it's a good thing. And so for me, it was realizing that I had some patterns that were not serving me. I had stories that were not serving me. And in order for me to continue to grow, I had to kind of slow down and deal with some of that stuff. Otherwise, I could continue to grow through people, and those things would continue to surface in every new relationship that I got into business with. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. We just recorded an empire building podcast on limiting beliefs, a whole episode on it. I don't know when it's airing, but I'll put the link for those of you who are not following that. I don't know when it's airing, but I personally believe that your level of success is achieved by how much you can, eliminate those limiting beliefs, right? It's a direct equation. It's kind of that, back to that quote, Jacqueline, that business growth is autobiographical.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank the three of you enough. I loved today's webinar. It was really fascinating, walking through this step-by-step process, as Austin says. And I hope that that everybody watching and listening, understands a little bit more intimately what that journey looks like. So when you see people on stage and they're like, I sell hundreds of homes and I'm doing 2, 3, 4 million, I think there's patterns that we can predict, and you can predict in your own business. I don't do this a lot, but if you guys are watching or listening and you are feeling like you need a coach, or you want to talk to somebody about what it looks like to partner with somebody, direct message me on my Instagram. We just gave my Instagram. Email me, call me, text me. You know, I think today's episode shone a light. Thank you, Jacqueline, for pointing that out, on the power of partnerships and what that can do. So I'm always here for a phone call or for a conversation around that. We are off next week because I'm affiliated with Keller Williams, and Keller Williams has a big event next week. The week after, we are back, and I'm really, really excited. We're interviewing an Olympian's father. So what is it like to raise a champion, and what does that household look like? I am so excited about that one. I tracked him down for quite a while. The week after that, I'm also really excited about, we're going to have Simi Kerr on, and she's going to go into value proposition and how she's built. I'm not, someone just said you're not allowed to take a week off. Well, you can watch some replays. There you go, Mick. But she's going to talk about how she has gotten her full commission, and she's now at a $40 to $50 million business and growing. She's an individual agent. She's going to talk about what she does in her buyer consult. We're going to role play a little bit, very specifically what she does. And she has actually offered at the end of that to give away the questions that she goes through on her buyer consult. So she does 80% buyers, and she did 42 million last year, and she's on track to do 50 million this year. So that's going to be well worth listening to. And then we're going to round out, fourth quarter is going to be really fun because we're going to do a countdown to business planning, and every week I'm going to thin slice, and we're going to take one lead gen topic like door knocking, prospecting, cold calling. We're going to have either one expert or, you know, a panel of experts on each one. And my thought is, if you guys could watch every one as you work into your business planning for next year, you can find out what sounds good to you and what you do want to add into that, and what you want to deep dive on learning and getting coaching and going to classes on, right? So I'm really excited about our webinars for the end of the year. Thank you, Austin Keitner of the Keitner Group. If you have any Toronto needs, I'm sure he can help you. John and Simon Westfall-Kwong in New Jersey in the train, you know, Short Hills Summit, Melbourne, and Jacqueline Smith from Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks all. Bye.